In this video, I'm going to show you how I've automated account research when a new deal gets created, such that you see all the research that I would do manually on the account or the company that the deal is created for in my CRM, right? So we have information like the company overview, GTM overview based on public information, some key metrics, funding, employees, LinkedIn followers, their growth metrics on the team, what their team composition looks like, oftentimes how many people they have in sales or marketing, tells me a lot about sort of the maturity of the organization, whether they would be a good fit for the workflow company. Are they growing recently? Again, growth is obviously a big area of focus for everything that we do. So that's a good proxy to know. And then some case studies to sort of understand, what types of companies do they work with? What kind of outcomes do they deliver for their customers? And then their tech stack, again, which kind of gives me an idea of the level of sophistication of their tech stack, what they lean towards, or even just like which CRM they use, right, is often quite helpful. And then any news that, again, sort of can provide richer context on what the company has been up to, right? So just going back here, all of this information is coming from like one of these nodes, right? And so what's happening is when a new deal gets created in my CRM, which is Attio, so I've created this dummy sample deal for AirOps, right? And when I do that, I create an associated company with AirOps. And by the way, this deal creation, I can do it manually, or if someone fills out an inquiry form on our website, then I have a separate automation that that creates the lead. And so either way, whichever way a deal gets created, it's going to set off a workflow, which basically a deal gets created and then it sends the deal data to AirOps with like the company's domain URL and the people that are involved in the deal, right? So when that happens, we receive the payload here, and then we send that payload to a few different nodes, right? So first is I'm gonna, in that payload, if you look here, right, you have the company URL here, right? So right here, we take that and then we go and scrape their landing page, right? Oftentimes it's a great source of information about the company. And so you can see the output here where it says AirOps and a bunch of information around it. Cool. Once we've scraped that landing page, we do a bunch of stuff. So for example, we search news using Google Gemini to find recent information that is significant. So for example, we can configure you're an AI agent tasked with discovering and analyzing significant news about a company. And so I give the company's URL, but then I also ground it in the website content to further communicate what the company does. Because sometimes if you do a lot of web research using AI, the AI model, the LLM, will often run into the issue of disambiguation, where if there's other companies that have similar names and they have news about them, they get a little bit confused in terms of like, is this news about company A or company B, even if they're named similarly, right? And so for that reason, I tell them, hey, by the way, this is AirOps and this is what they do, right? And based on that information, they go and collect news, and then I have some prompt here that tells them to prioritize like priority news sources versus something like PR Newswire, where there's going to be a lot of fluffy PR pieces. And then I try to tell them, like, this is what constitutes significant news in my view, right? And so try to like weed out news that is irrelevant and only try to pull out significant news. And then I also tell them, hey, but give me both like high impact news and low impact news so that I can decide for myself as I continue to like iterate and optimize on this workflow. So we search news, then we turn it into JSON so that it's easier to basically plug it into this part here, because we need to send it to Notion via their API. And so it's a lot easier to structure the data if it's in JSON. So that's where that's coming from. And then I also generate the company overview. So that's where you're seeing the company overview and the GTM overview are coming from their website content, right? A couple of other things that I'm doing, get GTM technologies on the site. So this is a proprietary function, I guess, that I wrote, that I run out of my own server, and it basically gives me what's installed on the company's website. So GTM, Google Analytics, LinkedIn, HubSpot, Segment, Intercom, Webflow, blah, blah, right? So that's where you see, where is it? This information right here, technology stack, right? Could I have used like Builtwith? Yes, but sometimes Builtwith doesn't always update to the latest technologies, or like the technologies that I would be interested in as a GTM engineering service provider. And so I try to focus on a list of technologies that I'm particularly interested in that tells me a lot about a company's GTM stack, right? Another one is getting a company's LinkedIn profile name based on the URL. So by the way, anything that starts with a W is an embedded workflow. So What I really like about AirOps is that you're able to modularize different functions as workflows and then call those workflows inside another workflow. So for example, this new deal research account is in itself a big workflow, right? But if I like show you get company LinkedIn profile name, right? This is a separate workflow. So this one node is actually expanded, looks like this, right? Where I'm passing the company's URL, right? I'm passing the company's URL, then I am getting the landing page content, right? Then I am, let's see, trying to figure out their LinkedIn URL from their landing page content, and then I output it here as code, right? Or let's see, another example would be here, get an array of case studies. Like this, again, is just represented by one module, right? But then if we look here, these are all the steps that are actually being taken when this one module runs, which is, all right, so first go to use a SERP dev to basically run a Google search for looking for case studies, and there's all these different combinations of search queries that we can run, like customers, clients, case study, or whatever. Okay, you get a bunch of different case studies from Google, then rank those case studies because there's going to be individual case studies that are specifically focusing on a company like Contact Studios in this case, or there's going to be cases where there's like a collection of case studies, right? So like I call them hub pages, where it might just be like airops.com/customer stories, right? So for those hub pages, then iterate through all the links on that hub page to get an individual story, right? And then put all of them back together and give me all of the individual case studies right here. Right, so that's literally like what's happening here in this just one module. And it's so much easier to maintain and update this sort of logic instead of trying to bring all of this in here, which would then make this even more complicated than it is already, right? And then also another upside of this structure is that now I can use this sort of module in other workflows, right? Where I might need to do something with their case studies. So anyways, I get case studies, I get company's LinkedIn profile name, then I get the company insights. Then I clean the company insights. So this is another thing that's really nice, which is that you're able to write code inside. And so if I get a bunch of information about a company, right, like their description, their images, and there's a lot of information here, right, like that I might not need. Well, I can clean this up so that I only extract the information that I need, right? And so this basically just, this information right here just like parses this data and makes it a lot shorter. So there's like 676 lines, right, which would be kind of a hassle to go through and pick out the right ones. So I reprocess that payload to just basically bring it down to like 55 lines of relevant information. What we do at the end is basically put all of these together, and then I create a Notion page and an Attio node. So I showed you the Notion page, which is right here, right? So all of this information, again, comes from the research that's being done, right? And then inside Attio, if you open it up, there's a note. And so I can access the same note inside Attio as a note. It has the exact same information, except you can't format as much inside Attio, so it looks a little bit more plain, but all the same information is in there as well. And obviously this is for internal use. And what's nice about putting a Notion page on it is that I can share this with a client. For example, if AirOps came to me, I can just be like, hey, this is automated research that I've done. I'm gonna share it with you just to make sure that like this is the context that I'm coming into our first discovery call with, right? And I'm sort of, I like showing versus telling, and so just being able to share this on a discovery call with the client, like kind of shows them what we could potentially do together if we decide to like explore different ways to bring GTM engineering, bring more AI and automation into their go-to-market workflows. So yeah, hopefully that was helpful. I'm really excited to continue to like work a little bit more out of AirOps and show you a lot more workflows. But consider this to be sort of the first taste of it. And then I also have plans to create research on the individual person that made the inquiry, right? Or the main POC on the deal, right? So at the contact level, and I think that's going to be quite interesting. I'm probably going to use maybe a little bit of Clay, AirOps, and obviously everything will kind of cycle through Attio as the main CRM. So stay tuned for that as well. Cool. Thanks for watching.